But first, we start with ITV and the closing of a once dominant grocery store chain. It's been about 5 years since Marsh announced that they would be closing their doors for good.
And years after the groceries have gone, many stores still sit vacant. ITV's Richard Essex went to find out why and what, if any, plans there are for the former neighborhood grocery stores.
This is one of the last Marsh grocery stores that closed 2 years ago. A church bought this building with the anticipation of expanding their campus. As you can see, over the past 5 years, not much has happened to this building. We have found Marsh grocery stores all over central Indiana. Some look like they were closed just last week, and others have been torn down.
Any good corporation has their ups and downs, and we've had our share of them.
They were the hometown grocer in the sense that they weren't the least expensive groceries out there. They always were a little bit better quality.
By the summer of 2017, Marsh was out of fresh ideas to keep its stores open. 10 years earlier, Sun Capital had bought the Indiana supermarket chain.
You know, in the store, it'll be noticeable to the consumer, and we hope that they're going to like it.
After years of questionable management and executive spending that left Marsh teetering on the edge of collapse, despite a series of cuts and changes designed to restore the chain's dominance, Sun pulled the plug, announcing in May of 2017 that Marsh would file for bankruptcy and close all of its stores. Keith Stark of Consortium Commercial Real Estate has listed a few of the Marsh properties.
They didn't close their doors, they slammed their doors. It was quick. Then, of course, the bankruptcy court becomes in charge of all the assets. So, and many of the landlords, the owners of the buildings themselves, the structures, got stuck with whatever the bankruptcy court decided. Kroger came in and quickly bought half, 13 or 14 of 26 that they turned into Kroger's, and to make sure that their competition wouldn't come in on top of them.
Some of the more profitable locations got new owners, such as Kroger and Dealers. When the dust settled, 44 Marsh stores closed their doors, sitting empty, waiting for a new life. One of them, the old Marsh Anchor store in Irvington Plaza.
Probably paints a pretty desolate picture.
In May of 2017, the City County Council declared Irvington Plaza an opportunity zone, opening the door to tax incentives and grants. In the 2 years since, little has changed. The store is empty. At the corner of Keystone and 62nd Street, this Marsh sold to a church with plans to expand. I was in the building in January of 2020. All the shelves, freezers, and anything else that wasn't nailed down had been auctioned off. Today, little has changed. The Marsh name remains on the side of the building, but there are no signs of the building coming to life anytime soon. We found a half dozen old Marsh properties sitting empty. The Marsh at Allisonville Road and 116th Street has been torn down. Stark says taxes and overall economics involved in these buildings is enormous.
The economics are much more complicated than anyone on the outside. Well, why don't you fill that space? Why don't you just put somebody in there? It's like, well, the cost to do that, first of all, I'm underwater with just the taxes and mowing the lawn and things of that nature. I'm in a negative cash flow situation, and you want me to do what? You know, open up the building and turn on some of the utility bills for a building like that can be thousands of dollars a week.
The Marsh in Greenfield has a sign attached to the outside with Stark Real Estate sign draped over the front. He has leased a portion of the building to a Sears and has a client interested in the other half. I was in the building recently. Many of the shelves are still in place. The cash registers have been pushed to the front of the store. The butcher department needs a good cleaning, along with the bakery and the front offices. An empty Marsh semi-trailer sits in the dock. In one of the offices, I found a stack of old store ads. Stark says grocery stores of this size are outdated.
As a consumer, we've been chasing price and discount for a couple of decades now. And that is driving margins lower. You have to do more and more volume. You have to build bigger and bigger stores. You can no longer just sell grocery. You're chasing a specific niche of consumer, so on and so forth.
Will we see another local grocery chain emerge in Marsh's wake? Doug McCoy of the Kelley School of Business at IU says probably not.
I think we kind of see that trend in a lot of our businesses where, we tend to get nationalized in a lot of areas instead of having local ownership. And so I think it's an argument of why we really love and should support as best we can, our local establishments. And, they can be few and far between these days.
Of the remaining vacant Marsh properties, there are still about a dozen that are for sale. Many of those buildings are in areas that are now considered to be food deserts. The city of Indianapolis says they have no plans to offer any financial packages to entice people to buy these buildings. In Indianapolis, Richard Essex, Wish TV, wishtv.com, and follow us on Facebook.